Welcome to the entertaining Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. This will be my last video of the day as I have work today at 5 o'clock, but I promise. But I just wanted to say thank you guys for all your support. I know I've been, jamming out a lot of videos the last couple days. There's been a lot of news to report, and I appreciate all you guys that continue to stick with my channel, support my channel, watch my content, give me good feedback, and just be phenomenal subscribers. I always say it. You guys are the best subscribers on YouTube, and this is a story that I felt like I had to report on, and that is Tua Tagovailoa, and it is a huge story today, and it could certainly affect the New York Giants. In addition to that, I also want to say I will be live streaming the Combine tomorrow from 7:30 to 11, so hope to see some of you guys there for that. But let's get to Tua. Let's get to the big story. Tua Tagovailoa, of course, is not participating in the drills because he's still recovering from his injury, but he is going to have a pro day early April. Now, the big story with Tua, there's two big stories here, but the big story with Tua and the test that he had to overcome was his medical background check. Well, we'll get into that in a second. In addition to that, there's a team that's interviewing him that may be a bit of a surprise, or they're probably just doing their due diligence. Much like the Giants I said yesterday with Daniel Jones, I think the Giants don't want to tip their hand with the draft, and I think the Redskins probably are trying to do the same thing. They know they're dealing from a position of power, picking at number 2 overall, and maybe they're not looking to trade down, but they'd certainly be open to it if given the right deal. They know that there's a lot of teams that may be in love with Tua. After all, Tua was the slam dunk number 1 overall pick going into this year. He was one of the most talked about quarterbacks in quite some time. He'd be a huge boost to jersey sales, things like that, and he's a very talented quarterback. The question with Tua is, can the guy stay healthy? Of course, the Miami Dolphins have been linked to him for quite some time, and for the right price, maybe the Redskins would trade out of it. And as Giants fans, I mean, of course, they'd get a big package, but I'd be happy that they wouldn't end up with Chase Young. We wouldn't have to be, worry about blocking that guy for the next 2 years. Now, I still think, if you ask me today, that they are going to take Chase Young, but I wouldn't rule it out. In terms of them taking Tua, I think they'd have to be blown away. I think they'd have to be fully bought in. They're also interviewing Joe Burrow. I don't read anything into that because I do think he's going to end up with the Cincinnati Bengals, especially after what he said yesterday when he said that he'd play for any team. So get that out of your head. Tua, I suppose, is possible. They'd have to be absolutely blown away. After all, Dwayne Haskins was a mid-first round pick. He wasn't early, and Ron Rivera is a new head coach there. Do I think it will happen? No. I think this is the Redskins dealing from a position of power, looking to say, without saying it, listen, we're willing to trade down if you guys are in love with Tua, and we're going to check him out to show that we have interest. But anything is possible. I wouldn't rule anything out. It is the NFL draft. But let's jump into the quote, and let's jump into what was said about Tua in terms of his health. This was off of Ian Rappaport, of course, very credible reporter, said, following 2 days of medical testing, Bama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa received overwhelmingly positive reports on his dislocated hip from teams who examined him, sources say. The MRIs were as clean as hoped. Fracture is healed. There is no loss of blood flow. One source said that it looked great. And as Giants fans, some people may be saying, how does this affect us? This could affect us in a huge way. This guy is one of the biggest chess pieces in terms of a team willing to trade up, and this just adds fuel to the fire. Of course, tomorrow we're hoping that Justin Herbert goes out there and blows up the combine and looks unbelievable, and teams, fall in love with him and are willing to trade up. The more prospects that at the quarterback position that teams are in love with, the higher package the Giants could potentially get. And even if the Giants don't trade down, the higher probability that the Lions either A, take a quarterback, or the Lions trade down. The more teams in front of the Giants to take a quarterback, the better. Because obviously the New York Giants don't need a quarterback. They want the best available non-quarterback when they select that 4 if they're not trading down. And like I said, it obviously is going to add to the package if the Giants do, in fact, decide to trade down. And could the Redskins take him? Anything's possible. Here's what was said by Ron Rivera regarding Tua. Redskins head coach Ron Rivera says the team will bring in Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa for pre-draft visits. And he says that all options are on the table. And in my opinion, Ron Rivera is doing what he's supposed to do. But of course, this is going to drive up speculation of whether or not the Redskins would be open to drafting Tua Tagovailoa. Yes, the Giants have said that they're going to examine all the quarterbacks, but to my knowledge, they have not said they're going to interview any of them yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if Gettleman does the same exact thing. The Redskins and Giants both know that they're in a spot right now that a lot of teams envy. A lot of teams that want a quarterback. Yesterday, you had a number of teams that were non-committal to the quarterbacks on their roster. The Bucks, the Colts have not been committed to their quarterback. The Raiders, there's a lot of teams. The Chargers are obviously in the market for a quarterback. The Dolphins have been linked to Tua for months. So both these teams know that they're in a position of power. And even if the Giants don't trade down, if the Redskins trade down, well, obviously, that's going to up the probability of Chase Young falling to the Giants. Do I think it would happen? No, I still say it will not. I still think he ends up a Washington Redskin, but this is only a positive thing, not just for the Giants, but for the Lions and the Redskins, because it's now teams are probably more than likely going to be willing to move up and get this guy, being that he was the most sought-after quarterback in forever, tanked for Tua coming into the season. Nobody even talked about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, of course, had a phenomenal year, which is why he's going to more than likely go number 1 overall. But Tua will be high on a lot of teams' draft charts, especially after he went out there and proved today that he has a clear bill of health. Will he be a New York Giant? Absolutely not. I don't see the Giants taking a quarterback. Daniel Jones has been great. But they certainly may be able to get more than they could have a couple of days ago if teams are, in love with this guy. You look at the Raiders, and I'm going to be doing a lot of these Gettleman projects. The reason I haven't done them is because I'm kind of waiting for after free agency, being that it's a big free agent market for quarterbacks, and these quarterbacks are going to go all over the place, whether it's Dak Prescott, Tom Brady. There's a lot of big names, and we don't know how it's going to end up, the quarterback carousel. But the Raiders, for example, the Giants could get a boatload. They get the 12th and the 19th and future picks if they're in love with Tua Tagovailoa, and don't rule it out. Gruden's in love with everybody, and they know they're going to have to jump some teams to do it. But, of course, I continue to say, now the Redskins, if they're willing to trade down, and the Lions hold the power before the Giants do, that has to be factored in. But even if the Giants don't trade down and those teams trade down and somebody moves up to take a quarterback, well, the Giants get a better player at number 4, whether that player is Okuda, whether that player is the offensive lineman of their choosing, or, Isaiah Simmons, whoever it is. I still am very much in favor of the New York Giants trading down, because I do think that there's a clump of players personally, and this will be, they'll start, maybe I'll change my mind after the combine and after some of the things I read, but right now I think there's a bunch of players that I would like between like the 4 and 10 range. So if the Giants could trade down and get more assets, I think it makes so much sense. 4 to 5 or 4 to 6 makes the most sense because you're still getting your guy you more than likely would have taken at 4. But if the Giants kind of like a bunch of guys mixed in, it might be even smarter to try to trade down even further and get better assets. With the Raiders, you'd be getting 2 first and probably a future second, something like that, being that you're jumping all the way from 4 to 12 and they're moving up for a quarterback. But, we'll have to wait and see. But I definitely think, I would be shocked that I think for sure either the Lions, Redskins, or Giants will be trading down. Somebody's going to move up to get Tua. Somebody will probably move up to get Herbert. 2 of those 3 teams very well may trade down, and one of them certainly will. The question is, which team will it be? Well, it's in the Redskins' court, and the Redskins know it. And if they're blown away, they may trade out of the 2 spot and might not take Chase Young after all. And then, of course, Giants fans will get excited thinking it's possible that Chase Young could fall to 4. Don't bank on it. But it's the NFL draft, and even if it's a 1% chance, anything's possible. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.